you can computers can track you everywhere. They can make like a online profile about you, fully actually more accurate probably than your parents will ever know, because they know all your search trends, buying, purchase habits. First, I think nobody can escape it in the current day and age. No matter what you do, you are somehow connected, which is exactly what Facebook can do now, right? If you ever go to Facebook, if you ask Facebook about your like a digital footprint of you, they will actually know more than you probably know about yourself, because you forgot about it 5 years ago, right? At this point, we are so digitally connected that privacy is not really a thing for us anymore.
Okay, welcome everyone. This is the podcast about robotics. I'm your host Leroy, and today I'm joined with Manish, our guest, who is an expert on the topic. And Manish, can you explain to me what the robotics are, but in a way as if you were talking to a 10-year-old?
Yeah, first, I would like to say thank you for inviting me to this. Second, I think calling me at this age an expert is, I think, a little bit of a stretch.
Okay.
But according to me, at least, there are multiple definitions of robotics. Depends on what field you come from. But to the shortest one, for a child of 10 years old, I would say anything that can manipulate and can do a repetitive or a specialized job that's built for, which is non-human, is a robot.
All right.
So, for example, because kids take examples the best way,
Mhm.
your phone, your autonomous fridge, that's something which they will grow up with for sure. Rockets, which they always see online and are fascinated by, these are all robots.
Okay. And why did people actually decide like let's make robots now? What was the necessary thing about it?
I think robots have been in design very, very early on. I think you have to go all the way back to Renaissance period with Leonardo da Vinci, who started building robotics. He has this famous humanoid built out of fully mechanical systems.
Okay.
You can call that a robot. Human is not doing it. He's I think it was meant to be a waiter. It's supposed to serve something at a table. That's a robot. Anything that can. And I think robotics truly took over when chips became accessible to public. So the ones that basically became like commercially laptops. And even before that, I think Apollo era, before that, missiles, you can say autonomous missiles are also technically robots. But I think it was certain events like revolutions, but like technological revolutions, like industrialization.
Yeah.
So the industrial revolution really pushed for autonomy, because large production can only happen with autonomy in it. So you can say a big factory like Ford, when they started the first assembly line of cars.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, if it was all manual, I would say, but anything that became automatic for assembly using some autonomous crane system, then robotics started really getting in. I think it was mostly about the Apollo era, around that time when robotics really started pushing, because as I said,
Alright.
rockets, spacecrafts, using computers more and more to do more complex functions. That's truly when the robotics really started getting into everyday life.
Okay. And what made you wanting to get into robotics? Why do you think it's so interesting?
First, I think nobody can escape it in the current day and age.
Okay.
No matter what you do, you are somehow connected to a robot. It can be your phone. Technically, you have a whole AI chip running in it.
Mm-hmm.
Even though you don't want it or you might not use it at all, but that's how it is sold and you have it. I would say everybody is in robotics, even you. You're also going to use maybe AI, or you're going to use machines or to auto-tune or do something editing. Technically, you're also using some kind of a robot to do things. I got into robotics very accidentally, to be fair. I'm an aerospace engineer. Rockets are a robot, but the specific robots which people have known when they imagine robots in their head, I got into that only in my third year of bachelor's, when I was looking for a project, and the professors I kind of approached was the lead robotics at TU Delft. I did not know he was. I just went because somebody proposed.
Went and then
Somebody proposed that you should talk to him for a project, and I went and talked to him, and it turned out to be the lead robotics on TU Delft campus. And he took me in, and he said that let's build a hexapod. And I said, okay,
hexapod?
So hexapod is a 6-legged robot.
Okay.
Like spiders. So they're all called hexapods. And I said, yeah, sure, let's build it. And I had zero knowledge about that before I started.
All right. Well, as you know, the future of robotics is still kind of fake. Not many people know what it actually, what the potential is.
Yeah.
So with that also comes like a lot of speculations and assumptions people have. So I have written down a few of them. And then it's on you to say if you agree or disagree,
Mm-hmm.
and then also explain why.
Yeah.
So the first one is, robots will take over many jobs, which will result in an inclination of unemployment. Do you agree or disagree with it?
I agree, but again, there's a but I think to everything. There has to be an asterisk at the top of that sentence. It has to be the repetitive jobs.
The what of jobs?
Repetitive.
Oh,
So which
repetitive.
are like, and which are heavy load, let's say, or very long duration, dangerous. Those are definitely going away very soon. But it's not surprising because apparently to a study, there is shortage of labor.
A shortage of labor.
Because people are getting educated and they are moving on to more high-tech jobs and more
Okay,
on the
then they
labor
don't
side.
want to do the old job anymore.
Exactly. So
Yeah.
the odd jobs are kind of getting left out. So farmers, you can see the innovations are happening where the labor job is very, very low in general to begin with. Most of the population, 40%, almost 50% are now living in cities. People are moving away from farming. And agriculture is, I think, one of the most robotized industry that you can find apart from manufacturing and assembly.
All right.
So these are the main jobs that will be taken away very fast.
So the more boring and repetitive jobs, they will go away. But
Yeah.
then there's still room for like the more intelligent jobs because people get more educated.
Yeah, because somebody still has to build the robots. We're still
Yeah,
not in that era where robots are self-replicating. So still somebody has to build them. So the high-end jobs, very educated jobs are still very much available.
All right. So before we go to the next assumption, I want to show a small video.
Okay.
NFX is in position.
Initiating excavation. I had a total shutdown inside.
Medusa seems to be one step ahead of me. She's coming up with her own code.
It's become sentient.
She hacked the Pentagon.
What's happening?
We need to hit the kill switches.
We have to get out of there now.
Welcome, Great Scout.
It's gonna seize the world's military.
And all smart missiles, global military networks. We can't outrun them. We can't fire.
We're trying to stop it. I need to be there physically. Only then can it be destroyed.
I like to know my odds.
Here. Run. It's go time.
So yeah, maybe you can already guess what the next assumption will be.
Yeah.
Once robots can function autonomous, it won't be long before they take over the world. Do you agree or disagree?
No, they won't be able to take over the world.
No?
No, because autonomous and being sentient are two separate things completely.
Okay.
Robots can be fully autonomous, that's okay. But being sentient is just like it's a whole different level of being sentient. One of the biggest misleading things that they just showed you is that if it does become sentient, you cannot be sentient if you think in very narrow one-pointed task. Because usually they show the reason of being sentient or like AI going rogue. Let's say that's the main theme of this clip is that, it was given the order to protect humanity or protect the environment, then the sentient or the AI kind of figures it out. Oh, well, the biggest cause of this is actually humanity. So let's kill all the humans. And it kind of like turns on you because its main task was to save the environment and not humans, right? You do not put in but sentient beings do not think like this. Sentient beings think of a very complex, multiple line of thoughts are there in it. And they will kind of figure it out that, okay, if I do this, they have to find a balance. Being sentient means also you have to find balance. You have to use the resources you have, but also protect what you already are using. So it's a bit misleading. Autonomous, it's very difficult that autonomous systems will take over the world because they just don't have the resources and the agility and the flexibility that humans have currently for the next, 2 to 3 centuries for sure.
For sure.
Because robots are mostly now built for a very specific purpose. If they are built for multiple functions, then they're suboptimal. They don't have the age with them. Like we have taken millions of years to become the way we are right now. Mm-hmm. And that means that we are very optimized for the reason we're supposed to do. We are optimized to do suboptimal tasks. Any task we do is not the best.
Okay.
We do it only suboptimally, like good enough, right? And robots will do everything really well, way above suboptimal.
But they're
designed,
only can do one thing.
They can only do one thing. So if you think a car, if you make fully autonomous, it's not going to become sentient. It's not going to do much anyway. It's a car. It cannot go anywhere. So I think that's a bit misleading, but I'm sure at some point there will be a robot which, like Skynet, the biggest example that people give, at least from my age, is Terminator movies. Like the Skynet became fully aware, started sending robots and people back to the past to destroy, and it kind of figured out a very complex structure to protect itself.
Yeah.
That's sentient. But this is a little bit too simplistic,
Too
and
simplistic,
too
yeah.
Hollywood kind of a thing. But so I would say no, fully autonomous systems also cannot take over the world.
Okay. Then the next assumption is the development of robots will lead to a more efficient killing and destruction.
I think development of anything will lead to more efficient killing and destruction.
Fair enough. Fair
I think
enough.
when you have a pencil, and you make it into a pen, it's much more sturdier and much more pointed, so it will last longer to kill a human being. This is a very philosophical question, and this is one of the main reasons engineers are taught ethics during their study, at least in masters at Delft. It's very unfortunate that everything can turn into destruction. I know when the Manhattan Project was going on, a lot of scientists in there were very clear not to use it for war, use it for more peaceful times. Even now, something happening with a lot of countries in the Middle East. Western countries are afraid. Even they want to do research for the internal purposes like medicine or for nuclear power, but they're always hammered by saying, oh yeah, no, you'll create nuclear weapons. There might be some truth to it, might not be. I do not know. I'm not taking any side. Politics is a very different ball game altogether.
True.
But this thinking leads to a lot of obstructions for a lot of innovations to begin with. So it's you can be very unfortunate, and you can be in US. You can have a very great technology to improve humanity, maybe take it a decade further now, but you can't do it because it's classified as a military asset, and then they just pause its
You really
innovation.
get limited then.
Yeah, they will just pause your innovation because they can. That's the whole point of having something like ITAR, which the Defense Department uses to protect selling or controlling the innovation of certain technologies, which can fall into foreign country hands and can be misused.
Yeah, exactly.
So if this happens, this is completely on us.
Yeah, okay.
This is not on robots because we program them, and it's completely on us.
Yeah, so that's then interesting that actually engineers learn ethics just to prevent this from happening.
Yeah. That's why you have a lot of mind scenarios. You know, I don't know if you have heard, but like there's a train coming, and there's like one person on one track, like one of your friends, but there are 5 people on the other track, and you can only save one of them, and you have the lever in your hand. And then you choose now, what do you want to do? Do you want to kill 5 people, or do you want to kill your friend?
Yeah.
And so do you kill one to save many, or do you save many to save your loved one? And that's a very ethical question. That's a philosophical question. It has a very deep meaning, of course, into it. Cannot be covered in one day at all. But these are the things that these robotics, like also for me, if I build a lot of robots which are super agile, I currently work with a robot called Spot from Boston Dynamics.
Okay.
Every time I take it outside to public, people ask, yeah, what if it had a gun? For them, it's a very casual question, but for us as engineers, it's a very, very dangerous question to reply to with a very simple answer, because that's not going to work.
But what does your robot then do?
So the project I work for is Zebro technically, but I also work for other projects like Spot, and Spot is a Boston Dynamic dog. It's like this big. I don't know if you have heard about it, the yellow color one.
I haven't heard about it.
You should look into it. Super agile. It's literally like electronic dog, basically.
All right.
You can control it. It can have an arm. It can do mapping. It can have cameras. We're currently working with it to find more research topics that in which industry and application it can work. I've taken it to Amsterdam Dam to see in the public how it reacts. I think 90% were super happy to see it.
Oh, really?
10 people were really, really scared.
Yeah.
Kids loved it because I think for them it's curiosity more than being scared first. Also because they're protected. I think they see that guardians are around, so they're kind of still calm. But there were still a few adults who were like, whoa, stay away from me.
Yeah, okay. Now I can get it. When I was younger, I had like this. It was a toy though, but it was also like a robot dog.
Yeah.
That I had like this machine that I can make it move and stuff.
Yeah.
So I really like that one. Yeah, these assumptions are of course very negative and pessimistic about the future. So what can we do to take these fears away from the general public?
At TU Delft at least, and at also the company where I work, I think we are more scared of what media says where we are in robotics than what the researchers say. The fact is we are way behind than what you see. We are barely making any. It was only about a year ago when Boston Dynamics, one of the leading robotics company in the world, ended up building Atlas, which is a bipedal human-like robot which can do things but cannot do it autonomously still.
Okay.
They had been working on it for 10, 12 years, so it's an immense amount of time and effort, and hats off to them that they actually kept going on it. Usually a lot of companies would just give up.
They just give up.
Yeah, but they kept going on it. You have companies like Toyota, which also was looking into humanoid robots. They have like a small, I think 1 meter tall robot. So there is innovation happening, but if you see them in real life, they cannot do much. They're just designed to do not that much. They can do, again, menial tasks like pick up something, walk staircases, normal thing. But if you tell them like, hey, can you please pick up my job at my office? Yeah, that's not going to happen. So it will be a different kind of a robot maybe, which actually does it for you, a fully software-based AI. But again, they are not sentient. That means that they cannot create tasks out of nowhere, right? They don't know what the roadmap is going to be, what the efficiency is going to be, how many complex environment, business strategies. All these things are like taking time, and they have to come up. They have to balance a lot of things. You have to balance people with it. And at the end of the day, robotics should be thought of supporting humanity rather than replacing humanity. And if it does replace humanity, it's only replacing in certain fields where it's actually needed to support the rest of the humanity to begin with. So the concept of people who really don't know robotics in general, or let's say engineering, I think general engineers know quite a bit about robotics compared to people who are not into engineering at all, is, you can, computers can track you everywhere. They can make like a online profile about you, fully, actually more accurate probably than your parents will ever know, because they know all your search trends, buying, purchase habits, traveling habits, everything, which is exactly what Facebook can do now, right? If you ever go to Facebook, if you ask Facebook about your avatar, like a digital footprint of you, they will actually know more than you probably know about yourself because you forgot about it 5 years ago, but they will remind you. But that's not what should be scary enough. It's not hurting you, right? At this point, we are so digitally connected that privacy is not really a thing for us anymore. But that is not true robotics. True robotics is what you see, walking around. The physical aspect of robot is what should be the most scary part of it. But we are not there yet. We are way far from it. As I said, sentient. If you don't have a sentient robot in the near future, we are okay.
Okay. Have you ever heard about the Gartner hype cycle?
Gartner hype cycle?
Yeah.
I have not.
You have not?
Yeah, if you could enlighten me, I would love to learn.
Yes, that is exactly what I'm about to do now.
Or maybe I know, I just don't know it by the name.
Oh, well, this is the Gartner hype cycle, and it's
Oh,
basically
actually, I have seen this graph before.
yeah, it's a model to show how the journey looks of a new technology from the start to the actual maturity.
Yeah, so we call this the death trap. Okay.
The death
we just
trap.
call it a different thing, but okay.
Okay.
This is where most of the ideas die if they have to die.
Exactly. So for the people at home, I will explain it real quick. So you see, it starts with the announcement of the technology, and then people get very excited about it. It gets a lot of media coverage.
Yeah.
And people start speculating what they actually can do with the technology. But then what happened mostly is that the actual technology is not developed enough yet. So people will, they get a bit disappointed. And then the interest starts to decrease again. But then from there will be some companies or other people that actually start to develop that technology.
Yeah.
And then slowly but steadily, the interest starts to rise again. So, how do you think that robotics as a whole stands on this model? And
I think we are definitely in the slope of enlightenment.
Yeah?
Definitely we are in the slope. A lot of your innovations or business in general depends on your economics now.
Okay.
So if you have a low time in economics, I forgot the word for it now. It's completely blanked out. So it happened, the housing bubble, right? It happened in US where the whole economy just went down.
Mm-hmm.
That's when the trough of disillusionment happens, because you just don't have the money to spend in these R&D projects. And then when it happens over 4 to 5 years, the company which was starting with a very high promise dips because they cannot move forward.
Yeah.
And then suddenly when there's an influx of money, they're like, okay, we have a new plan. We're going to do this. The publicity comes back, and then the slope environment. Right now, I think since 2010, I would say even, the amount of startups that have happened in multiple robotics companies is immense. The amount of money that is being invested in startups, with very high risk startups, by investment firms or by just individuals, is billions. Billions in US. I mean, the autonomous car business, you can see Tesla might have started all of it, but there were other companies buy it, which is just working the shadow, I would say, but not as popular as what Tesla was. But now you see Tesla is not the only one in the market at all. Even big companies like Ford, of course, they will never catch up to Tesla. I think at this point, Tesla is just way too good at it. And because being first has its perks, people just attach them to you. Once you capture the market, you remain in the market. That's like the loyalty has a thing in these kind of situations. But this is why you have entrepreneurship. This is exactly why this people finally know the spelling of entrepreneurship, because it's used and they have to write it so many times. If you ask 50% of the audience, they don't know what the spelling of entrepreneurship is. But it became a subject, or it became an actual thing to study or have a degree in. People have to actually invest time into becoming an entrepreneur. People are becoming serial entrepreneurs. They do one company 5 years, sell it off, and do one more. The reason they can do this only because there is slope of enlightenment. Nobody, like, it's very few companies which end up being at the plateau of productivity, because as you're growing, maybe in the same field, one will buy the other to either kill off the competition or to move ahead. Because no two companies have the same exact resources. One will have more talent, or the other one will have less resources. Somebody will have better business plans. Somebody will have better advisors. Somebody will have some companies will be in a better market than the other one compared. And the market, I mean, like, somebody is in Australia where the market suits better for that audience than with the same idea being in Africa or in South America. So then the Australia one can actually buy those two and expand its market and actually bring that expertise and bring that knowledge into that to use. So there is definitely, I think in robotics, there's slope of environment. I will also say that because I would not have a job if we were not there. And I think you wouldn't have picked up this topic to begin with. So I think just the fact that we are talking about such optimism in the future for robotics, and also the fear that robotics will actually happen and will take over things, you should already see that we are in the slope of enlightenment. Because if we were not, we would not be having this conversation, and you would already feel that we are actually going down the peak.
But was there a time that robotics was like super down, that no one had any trust in it anymore?
Yes, I think 1980s, 1990s, because the world has a priority. Like, you have a priority in your life. Business, like world, also has a priority in their life in general. Before it was Cold War. Let's say in the most recent history of our audience would be Cold War, maybe not that far, but it might be Cold War. Then from that, you have to come to finance breakdown. The priority was very different. Let's say the priority was to make money. So it was more to streamline life. Broadband age. Broadband age. So internet that you know of as of now is called broadband technically.
Okay.
Because before we had dial-up. I don't know if you ever heard the sound of like. So at home when we had internet, you literally had to connect through a modem. It's like a device which is on the side, and you have to put a telephone line to it, and then you have to put the telephone line of your computer to it, and then you should connect to the internet through that device. And you have to do all this manually. Like, you have to go to the computer, log on to some program and click dial, and it would literally dial into the network of internet.
Okay.
So that was in the 2010s kind of era.
So you're actually calling up your internet?
Not 2010, sorry, 2000s era. Okay. Yeah, you kind of are calling, but it's still internet. Like, you can still you can do like texting, emailing, all that stuff when it became global, basically, global connection. That allowed companies like Amazon to kick off.
Okay.
Yeah, because without internet, Amazon does not exist, for sure.
Of course.
So I think that's the era, the broadband era, the internet era is what the audience is more familiar with, is what you are most taken up with, because you really don't know the age where we had to connect a cable and actually connect the internet through a program. Now it is, you turn on your laptop and it's connected. It's Wi-Fi. We didn't have Wi-Fi back then at all. We did like Wi-Fi is a very new concept overall in the whole history of humanity. So that time the priority was different. The priority was to connect people. So the priority was to connect people, to bring peace, because we had just come out of a long war. In 1991, we ended the Cold War. So that was very, very recent. It's less than 30 years. It's 30 years actually ago that we ended the Cold War. So there was a different kind of tension in the world. You had different priorities. You had to make defense equipment, satellites. You have to spy on each other. You have to educate your population to become more dominant. There was two ideas in the world, like democracy and communism, apparently. And then after that, when everything became peacetime, the whole world became a little bit more peaceful. Then people started investing time and money into other things to make people's life more easier. So internet, GPS, they all came out of technology, out of Cold War, technically. So, and then planes came. So, it became the priority of the world was to connect people. Aircrafts became a thing, or jetliners became a thing. Faster trains became a thing. Public transportation became a thing. Highways became a thing, like more. But highways were always a thing, but like 10 times bigger priority. Let's just say that people start investing into these kind of things. Automation became a thing because then chips became more available. Computers became a thing. And then about 2000s, broadband became a thing. And then when internet was available everywhere, then it sprung a very different type of industry altogether. So you have Bowl.com, you have Coolblue, Amazon, all these online-based systems, they all owe it to this broadband age transformation, let's say, to a fully connected world.
All right. So you're actually saying that because the world had like other priorities, that is why robotics just got into a little bit of a dip.
Yeah. But now, because now everything is connected, we have that next technology which was missing for robotics to really take off. You also have to have faster processors, better sensors, more like better battery systems. Yeah, because before batteries could barely last for 30 minutes for a very small device. Now I can make a big robot which can have a battery system that can last like a half a day. Your laptops and your phones can now last 5 days if you run it on very low power. The new laptops, immense amount of performance. I think they match the performance of 2 years back desktops. Okay. So you can just compare what is happening between the processing power that a device has compared to its available power to begin with. And this allows you to make better and better robots, more sophisticated robots, more complex robots, and even smaller robots, which are more efficient.
All right. So as you know, robotics has taken over like a lot of different industries. It has helped the progress of it. But what I want to talk about today is the logistical sector. And I want to ask you, how did the upcoming of robotics change the whole game of the logistical sector?
I think most of the logistical sector in terms of robotics is changed in the background, which normal people don't, general public do not see.
Okay.
And they underestimate the purpose of robotics in logistics. There are 2 types of robots for this, I would say. One is definitely software-based, the whole AI and connecting and labeling and making sure that things actually reach the right person.
Yeah.
And the thing is actually moving the parcel or moving the box physically from one place to the other. I think the biggest location that robotics has really changed is the warehouse.
The warehouse.
The warehouse is an immense. Anybody who has done logistics as a degree will understand how complex warehouse is. It's not very simple as just picking up something and putting it somewhere. No, it's like a 10-year, 20-year plan where you have to really make everything efficient, and every downtime costs you money. Like everything costs you money. This means that everything has to work 24/7 because you're not paying for the building if you stop for the weekend. It's not going to work. Imagine if Amazon stopped for the weekend. I think you will not love Amazon to begin with, and they will suffer loss immensely. So they have to work 24/7, and this means the machinery, the word machinery, will already bring robotics into it. So warehouse management, there are 2 specific tasks that they're used for. As I said, that robots have to be very specific in their function. Then they're very efficient, and they're probably the best job they can do compared to humans. Okay. Is sorting. They can sort things really quickly and super accurately. You have a system that can read the label as in blazing light fast speed compared to a human, and they can sort things probably, 40,000 packages in like a few hours. Which a human-based system will never do in their life. Possible. Yeah, and it's also cheap. Again, remember, everything we are doing, robotics, any innovation is driven by economics. Yeah. So if a company or we did not see any profit making investing into robotics, we would dip, we would go back to not having interest in robotics. So sorting is definitely one field. And the second one is carrying the package within the warehouse. Warehouses are huge.
Yeah, okay.
And within the warehouse, you have autonomous robots which can carry racks between one place to the other to place it in the right place. So let's say somebody's building a basket for you and things have to come to that basket, right? Physically, or that box. So who's doing this? It's the robots. They go collect the item that you booked for, comes and brings it in your basket because the warehouse is like, thousands of meters square.
All right. So, because of the complexity of the warehouse, robotics can actually are better than humans to sort things out, like you said.
Yeah.
To make everything just go smoother.
Yeah.
And it's cheaper as well.
Yeah.
Okay, but are there still certain aspects that are falling behind in logistics?
Yes, there is. So besides the whole, let's say your package coming from China all the way to Netherlands, that's actually quite efficient. People really underestimate how quickly and how fast and how efficiently it is. You order something in China, I think if you pay a little bit extra, you can have it in here in 3 days.
In 3 days.
China is too far, man, for this. And it's coming from probably a very remote warehouse, which has where probably you can never go. You have to drive or maybe walk there. I don't know. But it's very efficient for the price you pay. I can guarantee you, if you have bought anything in Amazon, Bol.com is coming from China, either it's free shipping, it will take you maybe 2 weeks to come at maximum. And if the dealer is quite good, 1 week. For sure. Yeah. But you, without lifting a single pencil or leaving your home, you have something from China in a week, and that's like amazing. And I don't think missing packages is very low now. It's very low. I think it's very hard that you will lose your package on its way. The problem still is the last mile.
The last mile.
The last mile is really, really the big problem. So you can see that PostNL used to be one of the biggest courier company or postal company in the country. Even in Europe, maybe DHL is still one of them. FedEx is still one of them. But they're all facing the same problem. As humanity is growing, locations are growing, places are growing. There's more packages moving around. This means that the traditional system of this last mile is not going to work. Maybe I should explain what last mile is to begin with. Last mile is when the package is from China. The person who's selling it gives it to an air courier service. The air courier service brings it to Netherlands, so Schiphol. At Schiphol, it is sorted at a warehouse for that company according to which city it is going to or what district it is going to. And then from there, it goes to the district warehouse and it gets sorted again. And then from there, it gets picked up by a person, like a van, like the postal person who actually comes to your home to drop it off to your city. And the city is also quite big. Luckily, in Netherlands, not all cities are quite big compared to where I come from in India. But maybe one van can cover a city like Delft, where I come from at least. In Rotterdam, maybe 10 trucks like that. But again, different companies. So you probably have many more delivery trucks in total running in the city.
Yeah.
And that's difficult. That's very, very difficult. The city is growing every year. Packages, the frequency of packages coming are growing, but your number of trucks and the people are remaining the same.
They're remaining the same.
And increasing that exponentially compared to the demand in the market is very expensive. And everything else is robotic behind it. The moment humans come into the factor, then errors will start happening. And not because people make mistakes like this. We are just built to make mistakes. As I said, we have a very suboptimal organism to do optimal things or suboptimal things, just good enough. That's it for us. That is good. We are not robots. But this is where your things like delivery drones, the delivery car, pizzas, they will come into play. It's not because humans cannot do it. It's just because the volume is so high now and the expectations from the demand of the market is so high. Humans alone cannot cover this market.
All right. So you're saying actually that if these companies like PostNL started using drones or maybe something else, then it will be way easier and better to get to the last mile.
Yeah, I think, so not Boston Dynamics, but companies like DHL, the postal services companies have to start using robotics in their last mile delivery because they know it very well. The time is coming. Even for them, they have to change their whole organization to fit this new demand now.
Yeah.
Because it's all interconnected, yeah? The more access you have to internet, the more access you have to web shops, the more you will order most likely.
Of course.
The income is, not increasing that much, but the population is growing. Even if you buy a 5-year stuff, but there are 40 other people probably in the town buying that same product at that point. And this means that to keep up competition, they will promise you a few things like 3-day delivery. That's where the market is. Everybody is becoming more and more impatient. You need it in your hand immediately. That's kind of what we are now being brought up with.
The instant gratification.
Yeah, the instant gratification. Social media and everything else kind of took us to that kind of area. And this means that there's demand, and DHL and all these big companies cannot keep up with it because it's not built for this kind of market. And one of the main reasons, and as I said, going back to what agriculture industry did, when you don't have labor, but you have volume, you use machines.
You use machines.
And that's exactly what will happen in the logistics department. Sorry, I'm using department because from a university industry. Sector. Exactly. Sector is, machines. And machines means robots. Robots mean automation. But it will not be sentient.
Okay.
I don't think there is a use of a sentient robot just to do package delivery.
But then there are people that are controlling for example, the drones or something.
No, you can use AI. AI is good enough. AI is probably you'll end up with AI because if you really want to make very efficient and high volume movements of packages, AI will be the one. But the AI will be for DHL. It will not become a global AI the way you showed me on the clip. It will be only DHL AI, FedEx AI, because they're working for their own sector. They're limited with resources for their own sector. So if somebody wants to launch missile from DHL AI, it's not going to happen because they have absolutely no physical connection to get there.
Yeah, exactly.
Until unless the AI figures out, oh, you know what, I should send a package to a commander in the US Air Force and I'll hack him through the phone and then connect. I think that's a little bit too much.
That's too much, too far thinking.
Yeah.
Okay, then I have one last question for you.
Yeah.
And it has all to do with this picture. So let's say in 20 or 30 years, you could upload your own brain into a robot. Would you do that?
I hope my parents are not seeing this. I think at my current age, let's say, I would say yes.
Okay.
Because I have a lot to live for. I've not lived my life as my grandparents have. Let's say they might have a very different opinion about this than me. But I think the current generation, like me, I think your generation also, would actually like to live because that's all you have known. That's a very philosophical question again and a very personal question to everybody. True. If you ask the same, I've had a good life, luckily, let's just say. So on that basis, if I do want to live forever or in a machine, then yes, why not? But I think if you ask the same question to a very different audience who did not, unfortunately, have a good life, I think their answer will be very different.
Yeah, okay.
So from person to person, me personally, yeah, because I've had a good life. I think I'm capable of living a better life. I would love to see where the humanity kind of ends up and be part of it. You know, you need to be part of the problem to be the solution. And one of the main reasons to be in robotics is to help people around. Otherwise, you should not be in robotics to begin with. Yeah, I would love to.
All right. No.
If you have resources, please let me know.
Okay. I will give you a call when I make.
Or like anyone in the audience has some resources like this, please let me know. But this is very different than what people do now, at least. I don't know if you have heard, but people, when they are having some terminal illness, they want to cryogenically freeze themselves so that maybe later on down the decades when they invent technologies to revive them. Okay, not that. I don't want to do that.
No.
You can like, I would rather die in peace. But if you have this where I'm still living, I'm going to transfer my head into this robot. Yeah, sure. But get me a good frame though.
Okay, then. We'll give you a sexy body. No worries.
Yeah.
But okay. Thank you very much for this podcast.
No problem.
I really enjoyed it. I hope you did as well.
Yes, but I do have a question for you then.
Oh, sure.
Would you like to be in a frame like this?
Well, at this time, no. Because I still have enough use of my own body.
No, of course, for your own body. So even I would love to stay in my own body, and then like when it's like deteriorating, then you transfer. But would you like to extend your life by living in a
so
frame?
when I get, for example, problems with my heart beating or with breathing or something, then I would like this to move freely again.
Yeah.
And then also to live a longer life as well.
Yeah, robotics should always help humanity. This might be an extreme case of helping because I think there has to be, again, philosophical questions like, what does life mean? Because if you live infinity, then you don't have a goal in your life. You kind of miss the meaning of life to begin with, because if you cannot die, then what's the risk about? Where is the adrenaline rush? Yeah, so I think I think you need a very different kind of a person to answer this a little bit more deep. And I hope that in your podcast you get someone like that.
All right.
Because if you do, then I would definitely listen to that one.
Okay. Well, thank you very much again.
Oh, thank you so much for the invitation. And I hope, audience liked it.
Yes. Also, for the audience, thank you also for watching. And this was the podcast about robotics. And I see you next time.